Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In our previous classes, we had discussed about the electric field intensity. We had discussed about the electric field intensity due to a point charge, due to a volume of charges. We had also found out the electric field intensity due to a sheet of charge. In this chapter, we will discuss about the electric field, the electric flux density. We will introduce a new topic, and that is the electric flux density. We will talk about the Gauss's law, and then we will discuss about the divergence. That what is actually a divergence. So let's first discuss about the electric flux density. About 1837, the director of the Royal Society in London, Michael Faraday, became very interested in static electric fields and the effect of various insulating materials on these fields. Actually, Michael Faraday in 1837 performed some experiments to find out about the electric flux, that what is actually electric flux. So for that, actually he performed some experiments. So in order to perform the experiment, he took a pair of concentric metallic spheres. The outer one, consisting of two hemispheres, they could be firmly clamped together. Actually, Faraday took two concentric metallic spheres, the inner sphere and the outer sphere. But the outer sphere consisted of two hemispheres. They could be firmly clamped together. He also prepared shells of insulating material which would occupy the entire volume between the concentric spheres. But in this lecture, we will focus our attention to the fields in free space only. We will not discuss about his findings about the dielectric materials. So we will restrict our attention to the fields in free space. Now, what was his experiment and what are the steps that were involved in his experiment? But before the experiment, let me show you those concentric metallic spheres. Actually, these were the components of his experiment. This was the inner sphere and this was the outer sphere. These were actually two conducting spheres, and I told you that the outer sphere consisted of two hemispheres. So these are actually the hemispheres, and these hemispheres can be clamped together to form the outer sphere. तो उसने क्या किया कि उसने दो स्फेयर्स ले लिए, एक इनर स्फेयर और एक आउटर स्फेयर, और जो आउटर स्फेयर था वो दो हेमिस्फेयर्स पे मुश्तमिल था. इट मींस दैट कि आउटर स्फेयर को हम क्लैंप कर सकते हैं अराउंड द इनर स्फेयर. लेट मी ड्रा इट. इट मींस दैट इफ वी हैव द इनर स्फेयर, सो वी हैव द आउटर स्फेयर. तो उसने क्या किया कि उसने दो स्फेयर्स ले लिए, एक इनर स्फेयर और एक आउटर स्फेयर. लेकिन जो आउटर स्फेयर था, that was actually consisted of two hemispheres. These are actually two hemispheres which can be clamped around the inner sphere. So these were the components of his experiment. Now, what are the steps that are involved in his experiment? So let's discuss about the steps that are involved. His experiment then consisted essentially of the following steps. With the equipment dismantled, the inner sphere was given a non-positive charge. With the equipment dismantled, the inner sphere was given a non-positive charge. The hemispheres were then clamped together around the charged sphere with about 2 cm of dielectric material between them. The outer sphere was discharged by connecting it momentarily to ground. The outer sphere was separated carefully using tools made of insulating material in order not to disturb the induced charge on it, and the negative charge induced on each hemisphere was measured. So let me discuss it again. With the equipment dismantled, the inner sphere was given a known positive charge. With the equipment dismantled, the inner sphere was given, actually this is the inner sphere, so the inner sphere was given a known positive charge. What was the second step? The hemispheres were then clamped together around the charged sphere. When he gave the charge to the inner sphere, after that the outer sphere, which was consisted of two hemispheres, so these hemispheres were then clamped together. उसने ये दो हेमिस्फेयर फिर क्लैम कर लिए, जॉइन कर लिए around the inner sphere with a 2 centimeter of dielectric material between the inner sphere and the outer sphere. The outer sphere was discharged by connecting it momentarily to ground. The outer sphere was discharged by connecting it momentarily to ground. It means that कि अगर outer sphere पे भी कोई charge हो तो वो ground हो जाए. So in simple words we can say that the inner sphere was given a known positive charge, whereas the outer sphere was uncharged. Now after some time he unclaimed the outer sphere. कुछ देर बाद उसने ये outer sphere unclaim कर लिया, and he found out that the same amount of negative charge was appeared on the outer sphere. उसने क्या किया था कि उसने inner sphere को positive charge दिया, फिर उसके बाद outer sphere उस पर claim कर लिया और outer sphere को थोड़ी देर के लिए ground कर लिया कि outer sphere पे अगर कुछ charges हो तो वो ground हो जाए. But after some time, when he unclaimed the outer sphere, he found the same amount of charge on the outer sphere. The outer sphere was separated carefully using tools made of insulating material in order not to disturb the induced charge on it, and the negative induced charge on each hemisphere was measured. So what were his findings? Faraday found that the total charge on the outer sphere was equal in magnitude to the original charge placed on the inner sphere, and that this was true regardless of the dielectric material separating the two spheres. Actually, what did he find? He found that the same amount of charge was induced on the outer sphere. He found that the same amount of charge was induced on the outer sphere. So actually what he concluded? He concluded that there was some sort of displacement from the inner sphere towards the outer sphere. There was some sort of displacement from the inner sphere towards the outer sphere, and he called this displacement as displacement flux. Actually, he found that there was some sort of displacement from the inner sphere towards the outer sphere, and he called this displacement as displacement flux or simply electric flux. Now, if the electric flux is denoted by psi, and if Q amount of charge is given to the inner sphere, and if the amount of charge given to the inner sphere was q, so psi will be equal to q. It means that कि अगर inner sphere को हम q amount of charge, that is actually the known charge, अगर inner sphere को हम q amount of charge दें तो जितना flux produce होगा वो उसी charge के equal होगा. So flux will also be measured in coulombs. So if q coulombs of charge is given to the inner sphere, it means that the amount of flux that will be produced due to q coulombs of charge will be equal to psi coulombs. So from this relation we can say that there is a direct proportionality. There is a direct proportionality between the charge and the amount of flux. So if we change the proportionality into equality, so we are fortunate that the constant of proportionality will be 1, and from that we can write that psi will be equal to q. It means that the amount of flux that is being produced will be equal to the total amount of charge. So this was his finding, and he called that displacement as displacement flux or simply electric flux. Faraday found that the total charge on the inner sphere was equal in magnitude. It means that there was a negative charge on the outer sphere, but that negative charge was equal in magnitude to the original charge placed on the inner sphere, and that this was true regardless of the dielectric material separating the two spheres. He concluded that there was some sort of displacement from the inner sphere to the outer, which was independent of the medium, and we now refer to this flux as displacement. Displacement flux or simply electric flux. So it means that कि inner sphere को हम जितना ज़्यादा पॉजिटिव चार्ज देंगे तो आउटर स्फीयर के इनसाइड पे उतना ही ज़्यादा नेगेटिव चार्ज इंड्यूस होगा. सो क्या मतलब है इस बात का? इस बात का यही मतलब है that there is a direct proportionality between the electric flux and the amount of charge which is given to the inner sphere. तो inner sphere को हम जितना ज़्यादा चार्ज देंगे उतना ही ज़्यादा फ्लक्स प्रोड्यूस होगा और उतना ही ज़्यादा नेगेटिव चार्ज आउटर स्फीयर पे इंड्यूस होगा. There will be a negative charge induced on the inner side of the outer sphere. Now, what is actually the electric flux density? We talked about the electric flux up till now. Now we will talk about the electric flux density. Actually, the electric flux density is the amount of flux per unit area. Or simply we can say that the amount of flux that is crossing a surface divided by the area of that surface. What does it mean? Let us obtain some more quantitative information. It means that we have the inner sphere and a known positive charge of plus q is given to the inner sphere, and we have the outer sphere, whereas the charge on the outer sphere is minus q. We already discussed this then. So we have plus q on the inner sphere of radius a, and we have minus q on the outer sphere of radius b, whereas these radial lines actually indicate the flux lines. I already told you that Faraday found that there was some sort of displacement from the inner sphere to the outer sphere, and he called this displacement as displacement flux or simply electric flux. So एक हमारे पास inner sphere है जिसका रेडियस है a और जिस पे चार्ज है प्लस q. एक हमारे पास आउटर स्फीयर है जिसका रेडियस b है और जिस पे चार्ज माइनस q. The paths of electric flux phi extending from the inner sphere to the outer sphere are indicated by the symmetrically distributed streamlines drawn radially from one sphere to the other. So These are actually the flux lines, symmetrically distributed streamlines drawn radially from one sphere to the other sphere. Now what will be the electric flux density over the sphere of radius A? It means that what will be the electric flux density here and what will be the electric flux density here. I told you that electric flux density is the flux per unit area. So as we have given a q amount of charge to the inner sphere, it means that there will be flux lines here over the inner sphere. So the electric flux density will be equal to the flux per unit area. And what is the area of this sphere? That is 4 pi a square. It means that we have the inner sphere of radius A and we have the outer sphere of radius B. So what will be the electric flux density at the surface of the inner sphere? पहले हम ये डिस्कस कर लें कि जो इनर स्फीयर है उसका एरिया क्या है. सो द एरिया ऑफ द इनर स्फीयर विल बी 4 pi a square. This is actually the area of the inner sphere, and we know that the electric flux density is the flux per unit area. It means that the electric flux density is the amount of flux that is crossing this surface per unit area of this surface. So electric flux density is defined as the flux per unit area, 4 pi a square, and we know that the electric flux is equal to the total amount of charge, that is q. So it will be equal to the electric flux density will be equal to q divided by 4 pi a square. The electric flux density is denoted by d and it is a vector quantity whose magnitude is given by 4 pi a square and its direction will be along the lines of flux. It means that कि जो डायरेक्शन फ्लक्स लाइंस का होगा एक पॉइंट पे वही डायरेक्शन इलेक्ट्रिक फ्लक्स डेंसिटी का भी होगा. Now what will be the electric flux density at the outer sphere? This is actually the electric flux density at the inner sphere. What will be the electric flux density at the outer surface? So that will be q divided by 4 pi b square. This is actually the magnitude of the electric flux density. So we will not put a positive sign or a negative sign here. Now if we take an imaginary surface in between the inner surface and the outer surface, अगर हम एक imaginary sphere लें inner sphere में और outer sphere में, it means that if we take an imaginary sphere, so this is actually an imaginary sphere in between the inner sphere and the outer sphere whose radius is r. So what will be the electric flux density over this imaginary surface? What will be the electric flux density over this imaginary surface? So it will be equal to the amount of flux that is crossing this surface per unit area of this surface. So it will be equal to q divided by 4 pi r square. So generally we can say that the electric flux density over a surface of radius r will be equal to q divided by 4 pi r square. So at the surface of the inner sphere, psi coulombs of electric flux are produced by the charge q is equal to psi coulombs distributed uniformly over a surface having an area of 4 pi a square meter. ये बात ऑलरेडी हमने डिस्कस कर ली that we have an inner sphere and the area of this sphere is 4 pi a square, we have an outer sphere and the area of this sphere will be 4 pi b square. So the flux density over the inner sphere will be equal to q divided by 4 pi a square, whereas the flux density over the outer sphere will be equal to 4 by q divided by 4 pi b square. And after that, if we take an imaginary surface between the two surfaces, between the inner surface and between the inner surface and the outer surface, so the density of the flux at this surface is psi divided by 4 pi a square, or q divided by 4 pi a square coulomb per square meter. Why? Because psi is equal to q. The amount of flux produced will be equal to the amount of charge which is given to a sphere, and this is an important new quantity. Electric flux density measured in coulombs per square meter. Coulomb per square meter, described as the lines per square meter. For each line is due to 1 coulomb. It means that the amount of flux will be equal to the amount of charge, is given by the letter D, which was originally chosen because of the alternate names of displacement flux density or displacement density. क्या मतलब है इस बात का कि जिस तरह हमने डिस्प्लेसमेंट फ्लक्स की बात की थी, फिर सिंपली उसी डिस्प्लेसमेंट फ्लक्स को हमने इलेक्ट्रिक फ्लक्स कहा, तो इसीलिए पहले हम इसको डिस्प्लेसमेंट फ्लक्स डेंसिटी कह रहे थे, बट सिंपली दिस इज एक्चुअली द इलेक्ट्रिक फ्लक्स डेंसिटी. Electric flux density is more descriptive, however we shall use the term consistently. The electric flux density is a vector quantity. The magnitude is given by q divided by 4 pi r square if we take a surface of radius r, and the direction of d at a point is the direction of the flux lines at that point. ये बात भी already हमने discuss कर ली है कि एक पॉइंट पे जो फ्लक्स लाइंस का डायरेक्शन होगा वही डायरेक्शन इलेक्ट्रिक फ्लक्स डेंसिटी का भी होगा. एंड द मैग्नीट्यूड इज गिवन बाय द नंबर ऑफ फ्लक्स लाइंस क्रॉसिंग अ सरफेस नॉर्मल टू द लाइंस divided by the surface area. Simply, the magnitude is given by the number of flux lines divided by the surface area. The number of flux lines that is crossing a surface, and that surface is normal to the lines. It means that these are the flux lines that is crossing this surface, and this surface is actually normal to the flux line divided by the area of this surface. So the electric flux density is in the radial direction and has the value. If we talk about the inner sphere, it will be equal to q divided by 4 pi a square into ar, and if we talk about the outer sphere, so it will be equal to q divided by 4 pi b square into ar. Ar is actually the unit vector. It actually shows the direction of the electric flux density. फिर हमने क्या कहा कि अगर हम एक इमेजिनरी स्फीयर ले, एक इमेजिनरी सरफेस ले जिसका रेडियस r हो और r a से ग्रेटर हो b से लेस हो, so d will be equal to q divided by 4 pi r square into ar. If we measure the electric flux density over that surface of radius r, so d will be equal to q divided by 4 pi r square into ar. अब अगर इनर स्फीयर को हम चौड़ा कर लें, बहुत चौड़ा कर लें, बट द अमाउंट ऑफ चार्ज बिकम्स द सेम. जो इनर स्फीयर है जिसका रेडियस a है, अगर उसी इनर स्फीयर को हम छोटा कर लें, इतना छोटा कर लें कि वो एक पॉइंट चार्ज की तरह बिहेव कर ले, बट द अमाउंट ऑफ चार्ज रिमेन्स द सेम, एंड दैट इज ऑफ q. So what will be the electric flux density? R meters from that point charge. That will be the same. That will be d is equal to q divided by 4 pi r square into ar. What does it mean? It means that जो inner sphere है इसको अगर हम बहुत छोटा कर लें, but the amount of charge remains the same, so this inner sphere will behave like a point charge. So due to this point charge, अगर यहाँ पे हम एक imaginary surface लें of radius r और उसी surface पे हम electric flux density find out कर लें, so अब definitely that will be the same. That will be q divided by 4 pi r square, because the same amount of charge plus q is here on this inner sphere, and the same amount of charge plus q is the charge of that point. क्या मतलब है इस बात का कि अगर हम एक पॉइंट चार्ज ले या एक स्फीयर ले, लेकिन पॉइंट चार्ज का जितना अमाउंट है अगर वही अमाउंट स्फीयर का भी हो, तो ऑटोमेटिकली जो सरफेस हम लेते हैं उससे सेम अमाउंट ऑफ फ्लक्स पास करेगा, उससे सेम अमाउंट ऑफ फ्लक्स लाइंस पास करेंगे. सो द फ्लक्स डेंसिटी ओवर दैट सरफेस विल रिमेन द सेम. सो दैट विल बी d is equal to q divided by 4 pi r square into a. So it becomes a point charge in the limit, but the electric flux density at a point r meters from the point charge is still given by d is equal to q divided by 4 pi r square into ar. Now we know that the electric field intensity due to a point charge is equal to q divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square. This is the electric flux density due to a point charge, and this is the electric field intensity due to a point charge. So if we compare these two relations, we will find out that D is equal to epsilon naught E. We will find out that D will be equal to epsilon naught E. और ये रिलेशन हमने फर्स्ट लेक्चर में डिस्कस की. So if we compare the relations of the electric flux density and the electric field intensity due to a point charge, we will find out that D will be equal to epsilon naught E. Here epsilon naught is the permittivity of free space. But remember that this relation is valid for free space only. This relation is valid for free space only. And we will not restrict our attention to the field of a point charge if we have a general volume charge distribution in free space. So for a general volume charge distribution, we know that E is equal to rho v into dv divided by 4 pi epsilon naught r square into ar. This is actually the electric field intensity due to a general volume charge distribution, and this is actually the volume integral. So what will be the electric flux density due to a volume charge distribution? It will be equal to D is equal to rho v dv divided by 4 pi r square into ar. So this relation is valid only for the free space, but it is not restricted to a point charge. It is not restricted to a point charge because this is the electric field intensity due to a volume charge distribution. So the electric flux density will be equal to rho v dv divided by 4 pi r square. So from these relations we can also derive D is equal to epsilon naught E. So this was all about the electric flux density. In our next lecture we will talk about the Gauss's law. If you have any questions, please write down those questions and then we can discuss. Thank you.